thank you for being on the programme. Well, you asked a question to the Prime Minister. Since then, we've had yet more resignations, a sacking. We've had members of the Cabinet going into number 10 demanding that the Prime Minister resign. He hasn't. It is like he is digging in. What do you think the answer to your question is? Do you think there are any circumstances where the Prime Minister might resign?
Well, I don't know, and that's why I asked the Prime Minister, and I didn't get a very good answer. And can I just say, Sophie, I really do sympathise with James Duddridge, who is a fantastic colleague, and to be sent out by number 10 to give Comical Ali a run for his money is pretty poor and defending the indefensible. The game is up, and I didn't take any joy in asking that question today, but it needed to be asked. And that crack in the dam we saw last night when Sajid and Rishi handed in their notice has now become a huge hole in the dam, with a succession of very talented ministers deciding that enough is enough today. And the Prime Minister really needs to acknowledge that, not trying to tough it out, because frankly, we're now in the end game. And he needs to acknowledge that. He needs to resign with dignity on his own terms, and we can all say thank you very much and then get on with the job of electing a new leader and a new Prime Minister, which is what we need to do urgently.
You mentioned the interview that we just heard with James Duddridge. He obviously has a different view to you. He thinks that actually they can appoint new ministers. There's plenty of people who are ready to serve. There'll be a new economic strategy next week and tax cuts. What's the problem?
I don't believe James believes that. I mean, it's just completely delusional. A large chunk of government, and particularly some really talented ministers who had every expectation of progressing and making it into the cabinet, have said to Boris what I've been saying for many months now, and others around me, that his position is untenable, and that has come to a head at last. Thank God it has come to a head, because it was completely distracting government from getting on with the job of government, which is what we desperately need to get back to doing. And so the game is up. He can't replace all those holes in the government with other people, because frankly, I think he'd really struggle to find people who would now want to serve in his government, because it's going to be a very short-term appointment, because frankly, he will have to go one way or the other in the next few days. I hope he does the honourable thing and resigns on his own terms, but if not, then the 1922 committee executive will change the rules next week and we'll have another vote of confidence. And as Bob Seeley said earlier to you, I've absolutely no doubt that there will be a not insignificant majority now saying, sorry, Prime Minister, but we don't have the confidence in you anymore. And if we would have a very different result to just a few weeks ago.
It's interesting. Let's unpick that a bit. The 1922 committee, who can call a confidence motion if enough letters go in. But of course, they do need to change the rules first to allow Boris Johnson to face a second confidence motion after he survived the first one. How quickly do you think this could all happen? They're obviously meeting to elect the new officials on Monday.
Well, it could happen, and it needs to happen very quickly. So what the 22 Committee Executive have decided, and they have a lot of power in this, they run the whole election procedures. They've, and I think sensibly, decided that given we have elections, annual elections for the 22 Executive, which are due to happen in the next few weeks, that it should be for the new committee to decide if there's to be a rule change, because that's a big move, and it's not something I would like to see done lightly. So they've brought forward the elections to Monday. So on Monday, all the nominations will be in. Every Conservative MP will have a vote. We will elect a new executive committee of the 1922, and they will then decide whether they want to change the rules. And they'll do so, I think, with a very fresh and credible mandate, having just been elected to those positions. So people can't cry foul to say it was, they haven't got a mandate to do it. Well, they will have a brand new mandate. And if they decide there needs to be a new vote of confidence, which is, I think they will, then we can vote as early as Monday evening or Tuesday. And if that comes out with a vote of no confidence to the Prime Minister, as I very strongly suspect it will, then a leadership challenge and a leadership competition can be put into place very quickly. And it all, frankly, needs to happen before the summer recess in just a few weeks' time, before the final two contenders, as it works within our party structure, can then go out for the vote of the membership at large in the country. And I think that process needs to be revisited because it can take several months. We haven't got several months. We need to get on with this. We need to have a new leader, a new Prime Minister, getting government back in the business of running government.
Let's talk about that potential leadership election, shall we? Because it did feel as if one of the reasons that perhaps people stayed their hands, if you like, at the last vote was because there was no clear challenger to the Prime Minister. Do you think that has changed? Do you think there are serious contenders now? And is there anyone that you would particularly point to as having a good chance at getting the top job?
Well, there are serious contenders, and it isn't like, back in the time of Mrs. Thatcher that there was Michael Heseltine who was circling with great ambitions to be leader. There are, and perhaps Rishi Sunak was a very strong contender, but recent events have rather blotted his copybook, I think very unfairly, actually. But I could reel off a list of half a dozen or more names of good, competent, credible candidates who could easily step up for the leadership and could easily fit into the shoes of a Prime Minister. They will be a very different Prime Minister to Boris Johnson. Frankly, anybody's going to be a very different Prime Minister to Boris Johnson, but that's not to say they can't do the job at least as well, if not better.
And just finally, while we've got you, the big news tonight is the sacking of Michael Gove. What is your reaction to that?
Well, I mean, that's pretty serious. I've worked with Michael Gove for many years, and it's no great secret that I'm not the biggest fan of Michael Gove. But Michael Gove has been, despite some incidents in the past leadership competitions, he's been very much at the side of Boris, and Boris has been listening to him. So for Boris to turn around, and when I think it was Michael Gove who went to number 10 with the metaphorical bottle of whisky and the revolver, well, clearly Boris has downed the whisky and turned the revolver on Michael Gove. Who would have believed it?